So, one of the first questions I wanted to answer is pretty essential. It can kind of actually be asked two ways. The direct question that I received, thank you so much for asking this, by the way, is where did I get the $5,000 to be declared a candidate for federal office? The corollary of that, because I didn't. So the corollary question becomes, if I didn't get the $5,000, am I a candidate? And a third question for clarity is probably popping up in most people's brains. What does this talk about $5,000 and candidacy? Why would not getting $5,000 means you're not a candidate? What's going on? So I've talked a little bit about the FEC guidelines, about what someone needs to do when they're declaring a campaign. But really, let's rewind that back to the Code of Federal Regulations. Code of Federal Regulations. A candidate is defined, and I'm going to read straight off of it. A candidate means an individual who seeks nomination for election or election to federal office. An individual becomes a candidate for federal office whenever any of the following events occur. The individual has received contributions aggregating in excess of $5,000 or made expenditures aggregating in excess of $5,000. There are three more sub-bullets to that point, and they all revolve around how an individual interacts with this threshold, this monetary threshold that makes them a candidate. I am trying to be incredibly transparent about how I'm moving through this process. And one of the things I said up front in the first video I posted about this on the Ides of March, March 15th of 2026, is that I'm broke. Like the vast majority of Americans, I don't have an extra $5,000 lying around. If I don't have that $5,000, one would think it means really clearly I'm either not serious about this or I'm just not a candidate, but I'm calling myself a candidate. So am I wrong? Am I lying? What's going on? Really short answer is that I'm not lying. The much longer answer is that I'm using kind of a loophole. Talk about that loophole. It's actually kind of the inverse of how most people running for office typically tend to use this loophole. It's what people like Governor Gavin Newsom or Representative Ocasio-Cortez are using right now to sort of, well, test the waters about their own candidacy. Oh, also in the Code of Federal Regulations, there is an exemption about how people are allowed to use money to explore running for president. It's called the testing the waters exemption. I didn't make that up as a turn of phrase. I'm going to read chunks of this. This is publicly available, so please feel free to verify yourself, but I'm going to walk through sort of what I'm talking about and then get to why I'm being truthful about, hey, I am a candidate for president, but there is a little tiny asterisk there. So A, general exemption. Funds received solely for the purpose of determining whether an individual should become a candidate are not contribution. A big establishment politician, right? They want to go on this talk show circuit, or they want to fly around the world to different conferences to sort of bolster their profile for a presidential candidacy, or a senatorial one, what have you. They'll use this loophole. They'll say, I'm potentially exploring the option, or they'll just heavily even imply it without outright declaring a campaign. This allows them to start spending funds, right? This allows them to spend a lot of funds in travel, maybe even, non-campaign related ad campaigns, right? To try to raise their profile. This is one of the many ways that the deck is stacked against the average American, right? Again, most Americans do not have 5K just to drop on something that might turn out fruitless, right? So I described it as a loophole I'm using, though. So if this is typically a loophole that the rich and powerful or the already established political figures are using to run for president, how am I using it? I don't have those funds. Because the exemption reads on. So the testing the waters exemption, that means the exemption is not applicable to individuals who have decided to become candidates. Again, I'm reading in part, please excuse that, but The individual uses general public political advertising to publicize his or her intention to campaign for federal office. Subsection B3, the individual makes or authorizes written or oral statements that refer to him or her as a candidate for a particular office. And kind of other similar stuff in the same ballpark. So that puts me at a really weird, one could almost argue legal gray area. I've said my intention is to run. I'm not exploring or testing the waters. I am going to throw this ball as far as I can throw it. But that puts me at a weird catch 22. Are you seeing it? One, I'm not a candidate by the first part of the Federal Code of Regulations because I didn't meet this monetary threshold. But two, on the other hand, I don't qualify under the testing the waters exemption. I have made definitive statements about my intention to run for office. This is not a testing the waters campaign. This is, like I keep saying, really real. I am a candidate, like just because I've declared it, because I'm pursuing it, because I'm trying to make this start and I'm going through the legal processes of doing it. But whether or not I'm covered under the first part of the Federal Code of Regulations that we talked about, it would seem not. So what does that make me in your eyes? In case it's not clear, I am a candidate. But I might be a candidate with a small c and not a. That is to say, this seems like an ambiguous area of law. There's a high chance I might get sued over this down the line. I'm declaring something. If this catches fire, it's going to threaten a lot of establishment politicians and corporate elitists who don't want me ruining their control. But I think, the law, although ambiguous, is on my side. Again, that this all should trouble you, right? This should trouble you because it's very clear that these rules were not written with the idea of someone like me in mind. These rules were not written with the idea of, hey, what if a working class guy or gal or non-binary pal just wants to try to run for office? What do they do if they can't meet this 5K threshold? But they have designed loopholes that allowed people who have all the money and all the influence and all the power in the world to start a shadow campaign before they have to declare. This is systemic injustice, right? This is where the laws of the land are designed against people from a certain class or background. But fortunately, it's loose enough and there's enough wiggle room that I managed to find a solid loophole. So, hey, just again, to answer this directly, because I really don't want there to be misunderstanding. One, I did not raise that 5K. Two, I believe I am firmly within the right to call myself a candidate because I am three, seriously pursuing office. Hey, I wanted to thank everyone in that comment chain. There was a lot of great conversation. One, thank you for calling me for accountability. I appreciate that. That is kind of what this whole thing is about. Two, people who stuck up for me and said, hey, give them the benefit of the doubt. I personally really appreciate that. Because, yeah, for some people, that is an attainable figure. For me, and I think for most Americans, as other people pointed out, I don't think the data says that most people just have that kind of money lying around. Please like and share. More to come. Stay safe, America, and let's shoot for the moon together.